What's up, former party people? This is Jerry, you know, the one who actually combs his hair on the A is for Alcoholic podcast. Now, if you're finding value in listening to the AIFA podcast every week and you want to support sharing it with others, we invite you to become a sustaining monthly or per show contributor. Go to patreon.com/AIFA. It's super easy and it only takes a quick moment. It's about as easy as buying one of those pre-cooked space chickens from the grocery store, taking it outside, giving it a big old kiss, and kicking it into traffic. Why would you do that? Anyway, you do you, and I'll do me. Again, go to patreon.com/AIFA. And with that, people, let's start the show.
A is for Alcoholic is a program about recovery. My name is John, and I'm an alcoholic.
And my name is Jerry, and I'm an alcoholic.
Join us as we go through the alphabet of alcoholism, one letter at a time. I was telling you too, like, it's kind of weird, man. Like, nothing's changed, but we're kind of working and everyone's kind of trying to do it and be safe and be healthy and, you know, all the conflicting information and blah, blah, blah. And I don't know, but gotta fucking make money. And I guess everything's okay for right now. And, you know, I don't think there's any need to be I don't think there's any need to be afraid. You can be cautious, you can be concerned, you can be vigilant, which is a good V word that we're not going to do today. But but I think that, you know, I don't have to do it. I don't have to be afraid, right?
Right. Well, if you think about my job, like, I have to work with infectious diseases all the time, or the possibility of an infectious disease. And in the beginning, I was afraid. I was really scared that I was going to needle poke myself, or, I don't know, maybe inhale the fucking hepatitis in the air or something. You know, I didn't know. And after a while, you just kind of get used to it. With the idea of, you take precautions, you be cautious, but at the same point, you don't let that fear overwhelm you. And I think that's where we all need to come from. But then again, I'm scared too. I'm in my own home. I'm scared. The idea of getting back out there really scares me. It freaks me out. But we all have to do it because, you know why we have to do it? We have to do it because we don't have enough money to pay our rent. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I gotta be honest, this quarantine has been really good for my mental health. I've had some emotional mental breakthroughs just being able to reflect and be by myself. And I was never big on people in the first place anyway. That's why I drank so much. Right? So for me, going back out there and dealing with everybody else's vibrations and all that shit they're putting out into the world, it's going to be a difficult thing. That to me, well, that and the COVID, they both freak me out. Corona freaks me out, and other people have always freaked me out, man. I've always been like, yo, this is too much.
Yeah. I think, like you said, there's been some real positives in this whole idea of, like, we got to go back out there because nobody can afford to pay their rent. And I was kind of having a bit of a political discussion with my brother, who we were talking about. I said, man, I don't fucking want to pay rent. I don't want to pay bills. I don't even necessarily want to, you know, go do a job I don't want to do. Right? Like, if I got paid to work on the things that I really enjoy, you know, like the fact that, you know, we're able to, that this podcast is able to pay for itself, and then there's a little bit extra, is awesome. Like, that we get to do this. That's great. But I mean, I don't have a passion for waiting tables. I don't have a passion for tending bar, not like I used to. And so, and I was like, yeah, UBI, universal basic income. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to have to go and subsidize that on some level. But if you give people a little bit of cushion and a little bit of freedom to enjoy life, like all of a sudden enjoying life in any sort of relaxing way is deemed un-American, or that you're not interested in working hard.
It's frivolous because you're not pulling your weight, you know, and that's the symptoms of fucking late stage capitalism. Welcome to A is for Alcoholic. And I imagine your brother's like, nah, John, you got it all fucked up, you know.
Well, his concern is if you just give people money that they'll. And I was like, James, you work harder than I do, man. You work hard, and he's like, yeah. And I'm like, but why should you have to? Why shouldn't you be able to have some like cushion so that you could do other things that you enjoy? And maybe you can develop them into a business or into a skill that is profitable, marketable, monetizable, whatever. And it's like, I don't know, man. I just don't think that the world's going to end because some motherfuckers on unemployment got a few extra $100, you know?
Right.
Like,
and you absolutely, this may be crazy, and some people right now are like, fuck this, I want to listen to alcoholism. But you absolutely can just give people money. There is absolutely enough money to give people money. It's out there. It is absolutely 100% out there. It's just what we choose to spend it on. Is what we choose to spend it on as Americans and as a government and all that. I mean, I don't know. We can fucking chop that up all day, but...
So anyhow, just I suppose that's indicative of my
mental state right now.
My mental state, my politics for whatever it's worth, and it's not important, and I'm not here to argue. I mean, I think Jerry and I both agree on a lot of things. But I live in California, and
I live in Oregon.
And I mean, it's very much West Coast liberal, bleeding heart, blah blah blah, whatever you want to call it, whatever names, nicknames, bad names, it's fine by me. I'm not too concerned about it. But
right. And just throw that out there too. Regardless of whether your politics are left wing or right wing, if you're listening to this, you're probably an alcoholic. And at the end of the day, we're all alcoholics dealing with alcoholic problems. The politics thing is kind of the second aspect of that,
Yeah, I don't think that, I've said this before, I don't think that somebody's politics would make me feel, if I met them in a situation where alcoholism was an issue and they had problems and they for one reason or another came to me and said, hey, I liked what you said, or I have a question, I would say, well, let me see what I can do to help you, because I regardless of how I agree with you politically, doesn't I would much rather you be sober and sane and happy and content. Do you know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
Even if you believe the exact opposite of me, I still want you to be happy. I don't think
word.
I don't think that my happiness has to mean your misery.
Yes, and that's the big thing, right? That's the narrative that's happening right now, I think, is if you are making other people you don't like miserable, then you're winning. And that is such a faulted, broken narrative. And I absolutely agree with you, John. Like, if you roll up to me in a MAGA hat and you want to talk to me about alcoholism, like, I will fucking bend your ear because I know where you've been. I know, regardless of your whatever else you got going on. You want to chop it up with me about politics? I probably won't, because I get very emotional. I'll just get all pissed off at you. But alcoholism, man, I'll talk to you about it because I've been there and I can relate to that. Your politics, I'm not so sure, but that's all right. Like that's not our common thread. And I think we all need to start looking for our common threads here. This is what this course should be teaching us, is that we're all home and we're all broke and we're all alone. And those essential people, they're scared just as scared as I am, if not more scared,
And they're fucking working their asses off and dealing with everybody else's fucking trauma, psychoses, and PTSD from all this shit.
Wild ass time right now, man. It is so wild. And if you haven't drank, good for you. I haven't drank.
I haven't drank.
Cool.
But yeah, man, it's so I guess let's throw the topic out there so people know what the fuck we're talking about today, regardless of where this goes.
8 minutes in, right? Yeah.
8 minutes in. V is going to be for Vampires and Vultures and talking about negative people in your life. And how we have navigated negative people, both around drinking, and I think the tools that I get in sobriety help me with dealing with negative people, or even people, close friends and family who, like my brother, who maybe I don't agree with, because He's just a strange dude. But you were just
vapor locking there, dude.
I don't want to talk about it because it's not important to what we're discussing here. It's a different conversation. But
that's like
sometimes
a dynamic,
It's our dynamic. And so but you're right. If somebody in a MAGA hat was thinking about putting whiskey in their milk and they hadn't had a drink in a year, I'd be like, well, maybe don't. What else is really going on?
Right, exactly.
You know,
like despite
what's...
your weird way of thinking politically, like I know you have a weird way of thinking about alcohol, and so do I.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
finding the common ground. And I love that you talk about the fact that you say that you've had breakthroughs just from being alone and having time that is not... The space in our brains is pretty as vast as it is, as amazing as the human brain is, like it's pretty limited in that how many thoughts we can hold, and how thoughts become big in our heads, especially ones that are attached to emotions. And we get fired up about things, and we get angry about things, and we're like, that's not the way it's supposed to be. How can you be so stupid? Are you stupid? What is and then all of a sudden, all I'm doing is I've got all this anger and frustration, and it's in my head, and I can't clear it. And then I'm spending no time on myself. I'm spending no time thinking about the things that I love that are in my life. I'm just thinking about angry ideas that somebody else has put forth as if they have some hold on me. And I'm just like, I'm fucking over that. I'm so not into it. I have another friend of mine who, even he was saying, he's very much conspiracy theory kind of guy. And he was saying, man, it's even too much for me, because all of them are like, see, we told you so. It's all happening, And and I think about how I navigate the conversations I have with him. Did I tell you this, that there was one where I got tagged in some post on Instagram about some conspiracy theory? You pick one. I don't even remember which one it was, right? Mm-hmm. And I simply just sent him a message directly. And this is somebody I talk to fairly regularly. And I said, you don't have to tag me in these types of posts anymore. I get the gist of it. I get the point. I'm well aware of the message that it's trying to send, and I understand it fully. And if there's any new information, please send it my way. But currently, it's the same message. So you don't need to tag me in these anymore. And I wasn't like mean about it. I didn't like engage him.
Over, though.
He just said, "Okay, that was it." Cool. I mean, that was basically it. I mean, we're cool. It's just I just am not interested in the the Bill Gates nanobots vaccine depopulation theory.
I really miss like 1998, 99, 2000 when conspiracy theories were funny and cute, and they made like an X-Files show spin-off about conspiracy theorists. And nowadays conspiracy theorists are just like crazy racist white right-wing like weirdness, and I'm like, fuck, dude, like why do you always got to blame the Jews eventually? Like, it's just a rabbit hole always goes down to blaming some group of people and by their race or creed or whatever. And I'm like, man, remember when it just used to be that the CIA killed JFK or something? Or like it was Castro with a fucking lady's wig on or something?
There is this new podcast called Wind of Change about that Scorpion song and how supposedly it was written by the CIA.
Up. Yeah, I wanted to listen to it. It came up on my
sounds feed. Really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, and I guess when I see these types of when I get these types of have these conversations with friends of mine, people in my life, or my family, it's I try to express myself in a way where I say the thing that the feeling that I get from this and from you when you talk about these things is that it's laying blame on somebody else. It's pushing it outward. It's saying that somebody else is doing something, and there's no real solution for me, right? There's no real solution on how to deal with the situation. I always say, let's assume it's all fucking true, 100%. So what if you believe it's true and they believe it's true, whoever they are, then what is the next step? What is the solution to getting us to navigate this reality? And so that's the thing that always comes to me when I think about it, and I always equate it to like alcohol, my alcoholism, right? Is I have to have some sort of actionable solution. I have to have something that I can work with, like and also blaming other people. I learned that was one of the first things I learned is like that doesn't work. It's just resentments.
No, and I love it. I'm really gelling. I'm gelling with it. I'm grokking
Yeah,
it. I'm really
yeah.
feeling it because you're absolutely right. You're like, there's no solution here. It's all just finger pointing. And so if we're being assaulted by someone up on the roof of a building throwing rocks at us, and we're all like, there's the guy throwing rocks, and then we just keep letting him throw rocks at us, well, then what the fuck are we going to do with that shit? You know, like, I don't know. It's that weird analogy, but it's like you feel like you're being assaulted. If you've pinpointed what you feel like is assaulting me, then what is the solution other than just keep blaming the dude that's up there? It might not even be a dude up there. You just might be in a hailstorm, bitch. Like, you don't know. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, some of it is not even. Sometimes I feel like people are just pointing at rocks that are already on the ground and going, "See, there's proof that somebody threw a rock at me."
Exactly.
And I'm going like, but that's not. And so rather than engage it, I got to say, you keep pointing outward. What are you doing standing where the rocks are getting thrown? Right. And so that's the thing that really, really, that's how I try to engage with it, is that
right.
I listen, I try to be respectful, and I also, say, hey, you know me, right? Do you think I'm I lack. Do I lack critical thinking? Am I a sheeple? Am I? Yeah. You know what I mean? Am I somebody who's stupid? Am I somebody who just follows? I mean, of course I follow the rule of law because I don't want to get fucking arrested or dealt with in any way that's weird or awkward. And but does that make me somehow weak or falling in line? And I mean, I'm not that person. I like to think that I think pretty critically about things, and that unfortunately in this day and age, there's this really strong desire to create our own realities around things. And I just try to be as open and listen as much as I can too, with like my brother. And I don't think that the people who are toxic in my life are necessarily intentionally malicious.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
They're not looking to, I think, physically harm me or put me in harm's way. Certainly at this point, nobody's asking me if I want to go out and have a drink.
Right.
So, it's not like,
hey, alcoholic,
sure?
Want to come to the coronavirus bar and have a... Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
on top of your alcoholism, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think in the beginning, there were a couple people who were like, you sure you don't want to, you're not ever again? And
right.
Like, no. And you've talked about it too, about just people who were like, you would get made fun of, and you used to be so much more fun, Jerry.
Oh my God, I remember like a person telling me, I'm gonna buy you a bottle of whiskey for your birthday so you stop being so fucking miserable, and like just shit like that. And I would just, what do you do with that? You just kind of go, wow, you're a fucking asshole. Okay, good luck, fucking asshole.
Yeah.
Like, what do I even do with that? Like, I understand someone looking at me and being like, since you've been sober in your early sobriety or whatever, because this was all my early sobriety when I was fucking really, really, really crazy and had no tools at all. I understand someone being like, since you quit drinking, you've been really hard to deal with, or you're awful. But being like, I'm going to buy you booze so you can fucking get your shit together, I was just like, man, that's an asshole thing to say. And in early sobriety, it was hard for me. Like, I would get super offended and take it very deeply and get, like, want to fight and, but none of that fixes anything. Reacting to fear and anger with fear and anger doesn't help. It just, there's two scared, angry people in the room. I've noticed in my life that, like, when people are trying to get a reaction out of me, especially with what's going on right now, and I've had, some people try to do that, is that I realize I have to really empathize with the fact that they are coming from a base level of fear or being unsure. You know what I mean? And some insecurity in there as well. And they want to push that out on me so that I can join them in it. Because I used to do that shit to people all the time. Like if I were unhappy, upset, insecure, scared, I wanted everybody else to feel that way with me so that I could have someone to commiserate with, or at least feel that tangible thing of us together, understanding that it's all fucked, so let's be angry together. And now my technique is I don't engage. Like I just back out, because there's nothing I can say to change this person's mind. There's nothing I can do to change their mind. Their narrative is set, their mind is made. Arguing with them about what is science or what is fact or what's happening or how I'm feeling. They don't give a fuck about that. They just want me to be as upset as they are so that they have a buddy to back them up. So I just back out of it. I've literally just backed out of shit. Like, Jerry has left this text conversation, you know, like, and I've done it because I'm just like, arguing with you isn't going to help. Everything you're doing right now, you're trying to get everybody worked up because you're worked up. And I don't fuck with that. I don't want to fuck with that. It just makes me feel bad. I don't want to feel bad. And like, I want to roll around to what you were saying earlier about you following the rules or you following the laws. It's not only with me as well, not wanting to go to jail. And I know you agree with me on this. I don't want to hurt other people anymore. Like, I don't get off on hurting people. It doesn't make me feel good to make you feel bad. It really doesn't. Yeah. Now, I may hurt you if I'm trying to defend myself, but that's panic, you know? And I recognize that later, and I try my hardest to apologize and make amends for that shit. But, man, I just don't fuck around with trying to make people feel bad, because I feel bad a lot, and I hate that shit.
Yeah, I don't... It's even really changed the way that I, like, the comedy that I don't really dig on a lot of the stand-up comedy anymore, because it just seems so mean. And I'm like, is this me just getting older or sober, or am I out of touch? Because sometimes I listen to shit and I'm just like, nah, man, that's not really that funny. Like, that's whoever you're talking about or making fun of, and I don't want to stop anybody or censor anybody. I'm just gonna turn it off.
Just turn it off, right? So Bill Burr is a great example. I think Bill Burr is a fucking amazing storyteller. Bill Burr has told some stories in his stand-up that I've been really almost moved by, like, wow, like there's the guy committing suicide in the helicopter. But anyway, Bill Burr's like most recent stand-up special, he's just so angry at everybody pushing back on him for saying angry things. And so I couldn't make it 5 minutes in, and he used to be one of my favorites. And he's just talking about, you know, fuck these feminists, I want to piss fucking feminists off. And I was just like, so your whole routine now is just that it's not even pithy observation, or it's this observation where I'm like, oh, you make a point and that's funny? Man, I can't. You just sound like fucking an idiot. Like, I just don't fuck with that anymore. Yeah, man. This whole safe space thing. It irritates me when people are like, oh, they need a participations trophy in a safe space. And I'm like, our generation gave them the fucking safe spaces, you ding dong. Like, you're part of that generation. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just, and he's a great example of that. I feel the same way, where I used to laugh and now I always, you know, what's funny too is he was always kind of a misogynist, and and I would listen to it and kind of laugh and didn't really care. And now I don't know. And I just don't find that shit funny anymore.
Right.
I guess I've grown to become more empathetic and sympathetic toward people who are not like me in my sobriety. And I feel that's a good thing, and that's a good evolution for me personally as a human being. And I you know, and if that means I have to let go of some comedy specials from 2015, then that's if that's the sacrifice I have to make. Like, and it's
intentional, not to go on. I mean, you and I are getting really fucking snowflakey today, but
I know.
His comedy is like, what bothered me about it was like, his misogyny is heartfelt. It's not coming from this place where he's playing this character doing an act like, I'm an ignorant person, look at how stupid I am, this is funny because I don't get it. You know what I mean? He's like, no, this is meant to like lash out and fucking push back against those who feel differently than I feel, you know? And I couldn't fuck with that. Even with, and I love Chappelle, and some of Chappelle's shit is great, you know, but some of Chappelle's shit is not great. It's just like a band. Like, I like some of their songs, I don't like some of their songs. This new Bill Burr special, whatever. It's like Metallica's Black Album. I don't like it very much. You know, it's not Ride the Lightning. So I'm going to listen to Ride the Lightning. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
I think there's also this element of just being angry at Twitter, and that doesn't make for good comedy. And
who the fuck is on Twitter? I'm not on Twitter. Like, people are on Twitter,
a lot of people. But yeah.
But like, my mom and dad aren't going to laugh at the Twitter joke. They don't know what the fuck that is. It's such a... I know a lot of people are, but to me it feels like such a niche thing. Like, man, these SJWs on Twitter where you got some dude who's like, I don't know what any of that shit means.
So it's...
But anyway, I don't know. I love how I yelled, who the fuck is on Twitter? Literally millions of people, Jerry. Millions. Except for you.
Everyone but you, man.
Yeah. Me and Facebook and Twitter, man.
But I just think that, again, here's another thing is letting go of the social media. And I know that you don't mess around with Facebook anymore
at all.
Although your wife sells T-shirts on there, but other than
that's fine. I'll live off of its back and make my $400. Thanks, Facebook.
But you don't mess with that. I don't know. I still have it, and I still scroll through there, but I'm not impressed. You know what I mean?
I get so angry. I had to jettison it. I actually felt like that was one of my big breakthrough moments in dealing with our topic today. And in 2017, I just backed out. It was like near Halloween, and I was like, I'm done, man. Like, the people I agree with are pissing me off at this point because the language they're using is so baited and so angry and so misinformed. So fucking misinformed, dude. You know? Yeah, I just couldn't. If I could have jettisoned Instagram, I would have. I say it all the time. And now I just use it for what it was meant to be used for. Look at me. I got no shirt on. I'm doing goofy shit. That's what it should have been. For me in the beginning, it should have always been that. And I turned it into something else other than what it was. Yeah.
And let me ask you this about early sobriety and people talking shit about buying you whiskey and stuff like that. So in the moment, when you're having this conversation, you kind of just retreat and you go home. Did like those bad feelings or those feelings like sit with you for the rest of the day? Did you take them home? Did you ever think about like, God, maybe I really am a fucking boring loser now and I should drink? Or did you?
Yes. I sat with it for weeks. Not days, weeks, because I have an obsessive mind anyway, and I always return back to the side of the kill. I always circle back around to the part that hurt me. And I really did question myself. And the alcoholic part of my brain was like, see, he's right. You fucking suck now. You suck. Come on back to me, bitch. Be who you really are. And I'm like, I don't want to be who I really am because that's not who I really am. So that part of my brain that justifies all my like negative actions was definitely like hot, was like ready to go. And it hurt me, man, because I really felt like I was making this giant change in my life. And this one person I had really respected had spoken to me like that. And I was just like, and granted, it was in the heat of the moment. Like we were arguing about something and I was being mean. And this was that like thing that was thrown out there to push me off because I was like biting, and I've got a lot of negative shit in that manner, actually from just around like one or two people, which is really funny, but it's kind of hard though to be able to cut people like that out of my life because I have to work, so but yeah John, it like bummed me out. Did you ever have anybody tell you anything like that?
Not that directly. Like I said, I had one friend who would question it like, right, are you really, really sure? And I don't think that we ever had a deeper conversation about it. Like, you sure? Like, never again? And I felt my answer at the time was, you know what, man? I don't really know. You know what, man? Like, I just need to kind of stay this course for a little while. And I think that was the extent of the conversation. I just didn't know because that was only 2 or 3 months into sobriety when I had that conversation. And
right.
I don't think I had isolated myself geographically and otherwise from so many people.
Yeah. You did. Yeah.
That I didn't really have any old drinking friends. I didn't really have, there wasn't a plethora of neighborhood bars and taverns to go to. I was living alone. I was drinking in my room. I wasn't going out to drink. I quit. I quit going out to bars. And I know people who still drink and drink heavily and drink alcoholically who still require that sort of socialization of bars. Yeah. And I had given that up. I was just like, wow, wait a second. You mean I can just drink alone in my room? It'll cost me less and fucking I don't have to make my way out there or have to worry about driving home.
Getting a cab and all that shit.
Yeah, all that shit. And God forbid I would walk 4 or 5 blocks. So
right. And I got to be honest with you, man, when I came and visited you that one time, when we were still drinking, I was like really unimpressed with that Napa's bar scene. Like there were no dive bars. It was just all frou-frou wine bars. And I just wanted to get fucking blotto in a shit bag bar, Yeah, and so when we lived in Seattle, there was no that's all it was. That's all we had, our choice of any type of dirty, gross bar to go to. And I feel like when I was in Seattle with you, it was like, well, what kind of wine do you like? And I'm like, none. That's what kind of wine I like.
Oh, in Napa, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, Napa. Did I say Seattle? I'm sorry. I said Napa. Yeah, when we were in Seattle, we had this plethora of bars, and in Napa, when I came to visit you, there was none. I don't know why. It was just an observation I had while you were talking about being able to isolate and how you took off on us. Like when we were all in Seattle, you took off to Napa, and you had like one person.
Yeah, but I
knew that was there, and I assume now looking back on it, that was probably just a geographical. You were probably just like, yo, this is getting rough. I need to switch it up, because I mean, it was like out of nowhere. Like we were all hanging out, and then one day you're like, I'm moving to Napa. We were like, okay, dude.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was I didn't have I didn't have a lot of pushback in sobriety. I had gotten so far and so bad and so drunk and so destructive that anytime I told people that I had quit drinking, they were either shocked or pleased, and usually both.
I was in the same boat, to be honest with you, and a lot of the people I did drink with didn't give a fuck about me anyway here, so they didn't care whether or not I was there or not. All my close drinking friends were you guys, and I wasn't living near you guys. And on top of that, a lot of people I did drink with that I knew personally, once I quit, they were like, good, because you're fucking a mess. Do you know what I mean? So there was no pushback. I feel like if I would have gotten sober and we were in our hot point, me and you and the crew, like you guys would have definitely been like, what are you doing? Come out with us, and I would have felt pressure a lot more. But I got really lucky that I was here, and the people who were drinking with me at that point were just tired of being around me anyway. They were all starting to kind of not want to be around me in the first place. I burnt quite a few bridges drunkenly, so they were like, good. You know, and the only pushback I got was from people trying to hurt my feelings, to be honest with you. And I was around quite a few of them at one point because I was around people who were thinking in a toxic way. And so, because I was a toxic person myself, so I gravitated towards them. And a lot of those people have changed, or they've stayed the same, unfortunately,
Yeah, and I think that
it's dead air there.
I think that we both had fairly good support groups.
Absolutely, I did. I really did, man. I mean, that one or two people who were a fucking asshole to me out of the other dozens and dozens who supported me, I was very lucky. I had a really good support, and I still do. I have really good friends. I have really good family. I got you once a week doing this fucking thing, man. Jeez. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like,
would you find that in sobriety you've built more structure in your life than you had when you were drinking?
Yes, I have so much structure. Even in this quarantine, I have structure. I see these memes of people like laying in bed all day and drinking all day and eating like shit all day, and I think I can't relate anymore because of the structure I have. Absolutely, structure has been super helpful for me, and it's been a newly discovered. And I just keep tightening up my structure. Every day I get it a little more figured out. I love it, though. Some people don't like structure, but it's been really helpful for me.
Yeah. I found... I used to think that I enjoyed the chaos. I used to think that I loved it, but that was just the only way I knew how to live. Or rather, I didn't know how to live, and I just allowed life to be chaotic around me.
Right.
You've been to various of my apartments that were just fucking filthy and disgusting, and there was just dealing with dishes was not part of my routine.
Not at all. So I don't even know who did them. You'd like date a girl and she'd do them. Like you would date girls just so they come do the dishes every once in a while.
Jesus. Yeah. I mean, there was one place where I beat the door off the bathroom with a handicap sign that we stole off the street. Because Walter had locked himself in the bathroom and wouldn't come out. And so I tore the door off the hinges, and he had like jumped out the little bathroom window and jumped from the second story onto the fucking parking lot.
I remember that.
So I mean, it's been a far cry from.
And then I went to your house. I'm sorry, I went to your house after that, and I had to pee. Every time I had to pee or take a shit, I had to like pick the door up from the wall and put it in front of the door hole, and hope it didn't fall down.
Yeah, basically until I had a neighbor come help me fix it. But so it was an absolute mess, and I don't think that there was any. I feel like our friend group and our support group was like tenuous at best, and it was really only to perpetuate a little more drinking, right? There was never any sort of like, hey, how you doing? Hey, man, I just want to check in and hope you're doing well. And if you need somebody to talk to, you can always call me.
There's a little bit of it, but it wasn't. I wouldn't say that was the common running theme in our friend circle. No, but I think I honestly believe though that our group of friends, like if I needed help with something, that you guys would come through. So I could I could depend on you, but not. It was weird because you guys were the most undependable people I could depend on. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I'd be like,
yes.
Pick me up from the train station, and I've still got held on to that one. And then never fucking, not you. It was Coda. I was like, Coda, come get me at the train station, and he's like, yeah, I'll be there tomorrow, bright and early. Just never fucking showed. Super hungover. Called him 7 times, never answered the phone. Ended up taking a cab up to your house. It cost me like $40. But
Jesus.
But I also knew that if I needed a move, he'd help me move. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, or.
Yeah.
But I think maybe with the emotional support thing, we were there in really weird ways for each other. In drunk ways. It was like...
very drunk ways.
Fuck, that sucks. I'm sorry your dad passed away, like in your situation, and we got you loaded. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Basically, yeah.
Yeah, and instead of us helping you process through this really complex relationship you had... And it wasn't my job to hold your hand and process it with you to help you have a mental breakthrough. But it was my job to be your friend and like be there to support you through it. And my version of that was like, this makes me uncomfortable, so let's drink whiskey. Do you know what I'm saying? And like, we are having hard, difficult feelings. You are having a hard, very real life feeling. And I am having that blowback from it, having to deal with it, which I'm uncomfortable with. So let's get loaded. You know, that's how we supported each other, which was all we knew how to do. Do you know what I mean? That's all we knew how to do, man.
And that's amazing to me. I've been thinking about that and looking back at moments in my life. And it's so hard now to look back and go, I really didn't know any fucking better. Like, what a trip.
Right.
What a trip.
Right.
And, you know, and you talk about my dad and talking about, you know, toxic people in your life. And my father was never the most supportive person. He was never really there. He had some, you know, mental issues and he was very, very sick. But I never felt like I was able to get the kind of love and support I wanted from him. And it was just easier I did a lot of geographical moves. It was easier just to move away from my family and move away from him. And he always seemed to creep up and come closer and somehow one way or the other. And so I wish I never got to develop the skills to basically either have a real conversation with him or to be able to have a difficult conversation with him about the way that he treated me. And I think that that's probably hard for some people too, man. Like if there's somebody in your family who still drinks or somebody in your family who, like, I can't even imagine. I mean, I don't even have any anecdotal thoughts on that.
Yeah, and this is actually, I'm glad you bring that up too, because I was thinking while we were having this conversation, I was like, what about the people whose family members are the venomous people in their lives, or you know what I mean? Like the people that are providing, or not providing, but causing that. And I don't know, because I have a pretty stable family life. It wasn't stable for a long time, but the tools I used to deal with that back then were not the tools I would use to deal with it now, you know? There are, you know, things that, nah, man, I wouldn't know what to tell anybody. Just avoidance, I guess, or I don't even know if avoidance, sometimes you can't avoid it. You just got your old man living in your house, you know what I mean? Being like, hey, fat ass, or whatever they call you, you know, saying some mean fucking thing to you. And it's just, like, I don't even know. I have no expertise on how to even broach that, except to say that my sympathies and to some extent my empathies go out to you, you know? Yeah. So it's good to talk to people level-headed, that's for sure. To talk to someone who's outside of the situation, who has no emotional investment in it, would probably be really helpful.
I think that's the case. And, you know, it's really helpful. Absolutely 100%. Whether you find that, however you find that, if you find that through counseling, if you find that through, recovery groups, whether it's AA or refuge recovery or any number of things, you know, and everything's online now. But, you know, I think that in the future, being able to sit down and just the people that I've met in recovery have been able to teach me things that I would not have otherwise understood. Right.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Especially men who were, who were my father's age, who are my father's age. And to be able to hear them and say things. And when I hear, like, somebody would talk about reconnecting with their kids, right? And, sobriety gave them their family back and stuff like that. And so I never got to really have that. And so that's been a real eye-opener for me as far as dealing with the anger and resentment and frustration with my own dad. Is like, oh, and kind of doing it vicariously through other people's sobriety. So, I mean, I don't know. I would love to hear if there's anybody out there who is dealt with getting sober and being with a family member who is still in the throes of alcoholism. I would love to hear your thoughts, advice, opinions, what you did. Seriously.
You're gonna get an email. I know, I'm laughing because I'm like, you're going to get an email from my mom and dad. You'd be like, well, our son.
Uh-huh. I mean, hell, it's, that was a great show with your dad, being able to talk to him too. We did that.
Right. We talked about it the other day. My little brother, did I talk about this in the last podcast?
No.
We were in a Zoom family meeting and my little brother's like, I was really, kind of disappointed that mom and dad were home for Christmas and you just didn't do a Christmas show with your dad. I thought you would definitely be like a Christmas podcast with dad. And I'm like, fucking Joel. And my dad's like, no, man, I did so bad the last time they didn't want me back. And I'm like, get out of here with that, dude. Like, you were here for literally 3 days. Like, I wasn't going to, last time you were here for like a week. Like, I wasn't going to be like, yo, let's do a podcast. You're here for 3 days. I'm like, no, I'm trying to spend as much time with you as I can.
Right.
Yeah. It was just funny because my brother tried to call me out. My dad was trying to do that thing my dad always does where he's like, oh, no, man, I showed up and they just were tired of hearing me talk, And I'm like, dude, right. You have so much. You got like 30-some years of wisdom. I'd love to hear what you think. And plus, you're my dad, Like, that's, I lucked out there. But, it's so funny, man.
Well, he's always welcome.
Yeah.
And we'll have him on next Christmas.
Next Christmas, right?
Yeah.
It'll be the Christmas thing. I gotta have him on, yeah. I'd be like, come on in the office. Got the mic splitter this time.
Mm-hmm. I think too is just finding somebody, there's the saying that's like, look for somebody who has what you want and go talk to them. And that's not just, that's not just sobriety. That's in life, I think. And that's just a generally a good way of finding a mentor. And, not everybody is going to be excited to be a mentor, and not everybody's going to be available, but looking for those people and being able to like, hey, can I ask you a few questions about this, that, and the other? And it's been so helpful to me. Like, and I have a lot less problem asking questions about. I'll stop somebody and say, hey, how did you do that, or how do you get through this thing, or I noticed that you do things differently than me, but you get this result that I would want to get. How do I get that result? Yeah. And I've been much more inquisitive and much more just flat out. And people are most of the time really willing to share, right? If they've done something that they're successful at or proud of or feel good about. And especially if it's just like having to deal with an alcoholic parent or an alcoholic child. I mean, and it's just, I think about that, you and like I shared a picture on Instagram of us at your wedding, and
yeah, dude, holy shit,
I know.
I look like someone drew a face on a thumb, like my whole head is like a thumb that someone drew a tiny little face on, and just
very round. Yes, we were both very big and round,
bloated, yeah,
bloated, very bloated,
yeah.
But I was thinking about that and having a conversation with your father about how much booze we were going to buy for this party of 50 or it was like 100 people. I feel like
my wedding was 200 and almost 250 people.
Damn, in that
at my
ranch.
Wedding, my parents' ranch. It was like 240 or something.
Damn. So we were trying to buy all this liquor and all this shit, and it never occurred to me then because I was probably already drunk when I was talking with him.
Oh, you were, yeah.
But that he was sober, and I knew he was sober, and you knew he was sober.
Yeah.
And it it
And my
never
mom.
occurred to me, like, and your mom too, yeah, that like, hey, maybe that was never I was never interested in finding out how that happened. And he didn't
Right.
seem to care that we were going to
Nah.
fucking get drunk. He's like, yeah, just keep it outside.
Right.
Like, don't.
It was so part of the culture I was raised in too, though. Every party was drinking on the border
Mm-hmm.
there. Every party, it was so part of the culture that to them that's just normal. I mean, it's not. It is and isn't. Do you know what I mean? It's not
Yeah.
what they do. But like my daughter's first birthday party, like I blacked out. I flat out blacked out. I put my kid in her crib, and then I don't remember anything after that because that's just part of the culture. You get fucked up at little kids' birthday parties. It's just how they roll down there.
Well,
So
and
to
I
him,
get-
it was like business usual, but also you understand, you get it though. Like now, in retrospect, you're like, there's a cognitive dissonance there going on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's having two different thoughts at once. Like these two guys, these two fucking clowns, would do much better not drinking than drinking in their lives. But this is the way we roll at these parties. So, you know, I'm going to supply
Yeah.
the alcohol because that's culturally what we do, you know.
Right. And yeah, I think if it makes you feel any better, I don't think your daughter remembers her first birthday either.
No, I don't think she does. She probably blacked out too.
But yeah, man, I don't come across too many people that are negative these days. I'm pretty quick to assess, I think.
Right.
Is a better way to put it. So if somebody's not, and again, quarantine, it changes the way that we deal with everything and how few
Yeah, it
people we're
does.
seeing and all that kind of shit. But I also think that even if it's, I'll bring up, I don't really talk about grocery store lines anymore about how they used to make me so angry, because I don't go to the grocery store that much anymore. But you know, even in those situations where I think my girlfriend was talking about being there and how somebody was carelessly like creeping up behind her, like not 6 feet apart. And so she just was like, well, and I think, you know, in her mind, she was thinking, what the fuck is this woman doing? Get the fuck away from me. Like, you're not supposed to. And so she turned around and said, excuse me, I just need a little space here. And that was enough for the woman to be like, oh, I'm so sorry. I forgot.
Right.
I apologize.
Right.
You know, and just not engaging is another one that I think is really, unless you have to, right? But
right, and then trying to
being
engage
polite and-
politely. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, that's all I was going to say is, you know, engaging politely, showing respect to people. Everybody deserves respect. Even the assholes.
Absolutely, even the assholes. Because I've always felt like being polite is a form of empathy. Do you know what I mean? Like it's that whole golden rule shit. That's empathy. That is like the truest form of empathy. Is if I'm polite to you, I want you to treat me to the same way because I know I would want to be treated politely, so I'm going to be treating you politely because we're both human beings and like there's empathy. Do you know what I'm saying? It's
Sure.
not conditional. I guess I made it sound more conditional, but it's more like I'm being cool with you because I would prefer that you be cool with me. So I imagine you'd want the same. You know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Rashida did great. She's like, yo,
Yeah.
excuse me, I'm sorry, I need a little room. Super polite, probably really sweet. Probably used one of her sweet, like, recording voices, you know, or whatever.
Yeah,
like, used the real friendly
basically,
one.
yeah.
And that lady was
Uh-huh.
just like, ooh, my
Oh,
bad.
I'm so
you know?
sorry. Yeah.
Because
she
nine-
wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10, they're going to be like, my bad, you know. It's that one time. And you're like,
it's that one.
whatever, you miserable motherfucker.
Basically. But I think that, too, if anybody were to ask me, like, hey, man, let's go get a drink, well, you don't need that fucking phony baloney sobriety bullshit.
Right, phony baloney sobriety, my man.
I would
Come have a
to-
whoopee party.
Right? I'd be like, thanks, but no thanks, dude. I don't think I would get that from anybody. I haven't gotten
No.
that reaction yet.
No.
But, you know, if somebody came up to me, I would just have to I would just say no thank you and move on. I would not
That's all you
engage
can
with
do
them.
is Be polite until you don't have to be polite.
Is that
I don't know what it is. That's Bill
was
Maher.
Oh, it was. No,
That's
I was
not
thinking.
Bill Maher.
I was thinking of Dalton from Roadhouse, where he says he's talking about how to treat the customers at the bar. You know, he's the
What
door
did he
guy.
say?
He's the bouncer, and he's like, "Be nice until it's time to not be nice."
Yes.
That's
That's pretty much the whole crux of our dealing with our alcoholism is Roadhouse.
Is Roadhouse basically?
Yeah.
I'm a bouncer, and then my alcoholism is all the crazy drunk people at the bar that I'm trying to. And
Yeah,
all the all the waitresses and bartenders screwing in the back and like all the madness, and I'm just trying
You're
to keep
my regular
it clean.
Saturday night thing. Yeah. What's the other? I used to fuck guys like you in prison or some line like that, and I was like, oh, word.
Ugh. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It's just me trying to keep at bay and keep under control all of these crazy urges and fucking people out there. And I think that most people are probably going to be supportive of your sobriety if you're making a big change in your life. I know.
I imagine so. Yeah.
If you're in some, I can't imagine a situation where I would try to get sober and everybody would be against me.
Some people are in that situation though, but just we got lucky.
Yeah. You know, I mean, there's a lot more toxic culture out there as far around drinking than I have had to deal with, for sure. Right. In office settings, in people who work. I'm sure there's plenty of different ways and areas and places. I'm trying to think of one, like, I don't know, tough, hard drinking construction workers. I don't fucking know.
I don't know. It's just like the group of guys who like to go out camping and mudding and shit, and then Dalton decides he doesn't want to drink anymore, and fucking Jaden and Jesse are like, what the fuck? We can't go mudding and camping no more because you don't want to drink fucking 32 Coors Lights and shit your pants. And he's like, no, dude, that's a problem. That's a problem.
It's a problem for me. I think, you know, our friend Casey said that to me. I think we talked about it, and he was talking about going fishing, somebody that he would go fishing with. And he finally was just like, yeah, man, I'll go fishing, but I'm just done drinking. And he's like, because it was really the drinking. I think even the people in our lives who drink occasionally start to reassess how much joy that the drinking is bringing to their life. And they're like, people who can take it or leave it are like, if you're not, the only reason I ever did was because you drank. I mean,
right. That's my wife. My wife got loaded with me all the time. She's like, the only reason I ever got drunk so much is because you were getting drunk all the time, so I wanted to just keep up. My wife hardly ever drinks now. I mean, she has a bottle of vodka in the freezer, but that thing's like 2 weeks old, and she hasn't even drank past the neck yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think she just opens it up and smells it. Honestly.
Really?
I'm like, there's so much of it left. She just opens up and holds it under her nose. You know what I mean? Like, just dips a fingertip in it, I swear.
But yeah, man, it's a trip that the finding people. I don't think that finding good people is hard. I think that resources are out there, even in these weird fucking times. Yeah. I got to speak with in front of a group of guys online, and that was pretty cool. It was fucking weird, right? Because it's all weird. But everybody was super supportive, and everybody was super thankful and grateful, and kind of just did my thing, and everybody was into it. And that's, I don't know exactly what I'm trying to say, except that like there are resources and communities out there that are supportive if that's what you need.
Absolutely, if that's what you need, yeah. And shoot us an email.
Always. I mean, I don't hear from enough
like hearing
people.
From y'all.
I love hearing from people. Hit us up on Instagram, on all that shit. Wherever you were there, just even on Twitter.
Yeah.
Which
tweet at John, because I ain't got no Twitter. I might still have it. I just don't use it. I don't even know if I know I don't have a Facebook at all anymore.
Yeah. But you're not missing anything on Twitter, man. There's not. I don't really fully understand it. It's just like people, it's like passing notes in class, but on a global scale.
But for Nazis.
Right. Basically.
Just pass a little follow-up note, you open it up, and it's all Heil Hitler. And you're like, yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay, I got to go now. Yeah. Like, delete.
Yeah. Thanks, Twitter.
Thanks, Twitter. So I think that there are vampires and there are vultures and people who... And that's tough because, like, this is all about trust. And this is the thing that I've said to my friend at the beginning of the hour. We talked about, dealing with people who have different ideologies and stuff like that. And instead of pointing fingers, I say, look, I have to trust. It's what got me sober. It's what got me healthy. It's what got me to living a better life, was having a certain level of trust. And the things that are being talked about by other people, all I hear is mistrust. And so I just can't give into that. If I give into the mistrust,
that's a great way of putting it.
I'm going to start fucking drinking. So
Exactly.
So you can call me whatever you want, or you can say what you want about it, but I have to have some level of trust. And I go, okay, higher power, fucking whether it's Yahweh or Allah or the fucking Big Bear or the spaghetti, what is the flying spaghetti monster?
Yeah.
Like whatever it is, like I trust that you're putting me in the right direction, and then I'll just do the next right thing. So, I mean, that's where I stand on the Vampires and Vultures.
Yeah. I say fuck them in the face.
Yes.
No, I don't know. I think I'm pretty much there with you. I love your point about trust and mistrust and how I can't fuck with mistrust anymore. I can fuck with being skeptical, but I just cannot fuck with mistrust. I need to trust in certain things, and the things I know are untrustworthy, I don't fuck with them. I just ignore them. Move along, man. I only get a finite amount of time. I only get this little bit of time, man, and I just none of that shit. I just can't fuck with any of that. It doesn't have to be rainbows and lollipops all the time, but goddamn, the ride can be a lot less bumpy,
Right, and it's because that's the difference between trust and mistrust is I have to choose trust and you're right, be skeptical, be aware, be smart, right? But I have to trust because the other half is like if I just mistrust everybody and then all I'm doing is pointing fingers and going, hey, don't trust this guy. Look at this. This is not trustworthy. Hey, look at this over here. Be careful. Like then all I see are all the fucking spikes.
Right. That's all you see is just the shit parts and not the great parts. Yeah.
So I'm not into that, man.
John and I, neither of us fuck with that.
What do you got going on the rest of the week, Jerry? You got
I'm gonna go pee as soon as we finish this podcast. I'm gonna pee, but other than that, no. I mean, I got some TED Talks going on my Instagram. Nice. Got some TED Talks on my TikToks.
So you get some TED Talks on the TikToks. If you guys, can I just tell people they gotta go see your Instagram?
Well, yeah, but it puts pressure on me to make new videos, and there have been days where I'm like, I'm not. Well, no, yeah, tell them, come look at my Instagram at Jerry Wagner Jr. Look at my stories. You'll see something weird, maybe.
It's hilarious. It cracks me up.
Unless it's a day I'm not in business.
Maybe. Thanks again for listening. Our music, as always, is by Neglect. You can find more of his stuff at neglect.bandcamp.com.
And you can find us on all social media platforms that matter. Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And you can reach us at aisforalcoholic@gmail.com.
Talk to you later.
Yeah.